Do you need help?
They're taking away people's hopes and dreams and their self-fulfillment. I think self-fulfillment matters. I don't care if I'm the...
It's all about selling drugs.
The Everyday Psych Victims Podcast.
If you are a child, you better not smile, 'cause they'll take you to the quack, put you on legal crack. So if you are a child, you better not smile, 'cause they'll take you to the quack, put you on Prozac.
I am Daryl Brown, author of Sterilizing the Mentally Ill, and I'm with George from New York. Thank you for speaking.
Sure, it's good to be here and to talk about what happened to me and what's still happening to other people.
This is important. We do this. You're part of a human rights organization that's been active for over 36 years. Is that correct?
Well, the organization itself has been active since 1972. Then in 1980, began what was our first and will now be our 37th annual Bastille Day demonstration to celebrate the human spirit and break the silence about psychiatric oppression. The organization is the Mental Patients Liberation Alliance.
You have an annual vigil if anybody's around Albany, New York, around the summertime.
The focus has most often been on shock treatment. We began doing them in Syracuse, New York.
You told me about a time where you were at the gates of one of the tucked away, hidden, many mental hygiene style departments where like even the guards outside this place did not even know that children in there were being given ECT, or the people, because children are given ECT.
Yes, that's happened at several institutions where we've had rallied and tested the line that they draw about arresting us or ignoring us.
Because the public have a very ignorant perception of the mental health promotion, which I believe we share. Our experiences have been anything other than the promotion of well-being, but have been a mental hygiene program. Would you share that opinion?
Yes. I don't think people recognize the pervasiveness of what's going on, and
yeah, like what you went through. How many times did they put you through ECT? That's electrocuting your brain, right?
It was and is putting electrodes on the temples, the side of the head, and sending electricity into or through the brain to cause a seizure in the brain. The records show that they gave me 15. I didn't count them. I was not able to count them. I can still remember some parts of some of them.
Did it affected your brain and your memory at the time? How did it affect you, and how has it affected you now, would you say?
Well, now I need to say I remember everything that I need to, but for a long time, and I think of it like for 40 years, like there were still holes in my wholeness from the treatments. But I climbed out of that. I was demoralized and disabled physically, pretty much. Just do the shuffle for a long time after release. Each of the 3 times, just wanted to sleep and recover whatever part of me I could, and maybe have a good dream, because there was nothing good happening in my life after that, even though I had a loving wife and 2 great kids and family. I just could feel nothing, and then I think I was able to dream of being better, and at one point, if I can dream it, I can do it, and I was able to catch a glimpse of betterness every day after just getting down to the dreams, and yeah.
Do you feel depersonalized? I don't know about you. You're also on the same drugs. They call them a class of drugs like antipsychotics. I was given them for Tourette syndrome. I'm not sure what they said they gave to you for, but
to most of the phenothiazines, I was first hit with Prolixin, Stelazine, Thorazine, Haldol, Mellaril.
Are those, I think haloperidol or whatever it's called, is part of the so-called antipsychotic class of drugs? Would that sound consistent?
Yes.
Would you say it's depersonalized you? Because now I'm living with part of the sexual damage I have to live through forever is referred to as PSSD, which is post meaning post medication, because I haven't taken it for for like 2 decades or something. It's part of the damage of the post SSRI sexual dysfunction. One of the defining features is feeling totally you feel a lot very emotionless, and you don't and numb and very depersonalized. I feel very depersonalized after the brain damage that those drugs cause me, and the brain damage of the withdrawal of what those drugs cause me.
Right.
Would depersonalized
tell me
sound
again how
like
long you've been
something
off?
how you feel? 2 decades is probably too much. I've been off over 6 years, like about 7 years now, but I was on them for about 20 years since I was 9 years old. They put me on them, and yeah, the damage with me and other people is, it seems to be for at least some people, their brains cannot recover certain things. It definitely leaves a feeling of your body being taken from you, and very emotionless, and that's remained for quite a lot of people. I don't know if that feels like something that is relatable.
It was very relatable, but I was not on the drugs that long. I probably 6 months total while I was locked up there, and perhaps a week or so after. I think that's why I was able to get off, but the depersonalization stuck with me and until I met other people that were involved with the human rights movement and were speaking out and fighting back. The healing, as I mentioned, it's taken 40 years to say I can remember everything I need to remember, and that's because I got this far, and I am able to remember things that, my golly, that I thought were gone or I had forgotten about when they need to come, or when just mysterious stuff happens. So I don't talk, even with shock treatment. People talk about permanent brain damage, and I say it's kind of maybe it's like that, but maybe we can heal, and that's what I work for me, got me through, and pass on to other people that feel so hurt.
Yeah, part of the process is so dehumanizing. I mean, the whole idea of people being analyzed and singled out and tortured, or not given informed consent about the damage these drugs will do to their body, is a very dehumanizing thing within itself. And it can really break you down at different points. And I don't know if I can hear it in you too, but I don't know if you can feel that it still feels like, so part of the experience itself can be quite dehumanizing. I mean, that would be
I,
enough
I,
to...
know, I think that's the intent of it, and that's the first thing that I think I could remember feeling about it. How could anyone do this to another human being? And that still sticks with me. There's people talk about forgive and move on, but I can't forgive a profession, a class of people that is still doing this. And
yeah, they've got to be stopped. I mean, I looked up from the UK mental health figures, the board that they released in the year that's just gone in 2016. Non-consenting ECT was 1,627 for 1 year in our relatively small country, and in the USA, that's an estimate. It's estimated at 100,000 in 1 year. In the year just gone, 2016, and they're doing it on children as well, like they gave the drugs to me. I don't know, what informed consent did you get about, did they tell you what harms you would receive from this degrading?
I heard nothing of harm or risk, just the only way I would get out of there and the drugging would be stopped, because I always complained about being drugged, so they would up the dose, try something else. Gave me massive doses of niacin at one time. I did it, and I and other people that's been done to it makes us feel like we're burning up. So the only way that just whatever they wanted to do would stop was to agree to the shock treatment. So nothing about risk. I remember it wasn't just like one doctor or a doctor and a nurse. There was like a half a dozen people that made it clear to me it was in my best interest to go along.
Yeah, they had a group. They had group support of their own group of people that were, and you had no defense against it. It was completely without your. It was forced as well, right?
Yeah.
Did they ever ask you what might help? What you think might help? What you would like to help you at any point?
Not that I remember. Anyone. I remember when I was in day treatment after my release, because there was no place else to go, and maybe they would help because it was more like local people, and the psychiatry had got me while I was traveling. But I got snagged by that place twice more foolishly. But there was one staff person there that was helpful, and I remember her saying, "George, you do something for me when you get up in the morning. Look in the mirror and say I am a good person." And I got to be, so I was able to do that, because I had been so depersonalized that I felt like nothing, trash.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I'd feel very inhuman compared to other people. So when I did finally meet other people, because they told me, even after all this stuff had happened and the drugs, the so-called medicine that was supposed to be good for you, and these were supposed to be safe people that said they were trying to help me, that's what the damage that resulted it in. And then they just tried to say, oh, it isn't real, you're the only person. So I was isolated. I thought, well, there must be other people that have been harmed in, especially who at least think the same thing, because a lot of people take their drugs and they're drugged, so they're pacified into accepting it, and they haven't heard any other point of view about what these so-called medications that are supposed to be good for you could be doing to them. And any problems that do arise, you don't know it's the medications doing it, because you wouldn't think that something that is supposedly good for you and they're telling is to help you might actually hurt you, and they don't tell you of the harms that
They don't tell us,
happen.
but back in the early Bastille days, and even into some of the later ones, the Alliance was a lot of news coverage in Syracuse and in some of the smaller cities around by having demonstrations, calling things to the attention, making good press contacts. But the system really ended up taking over the press completely.
Yeah, they got the money in the schools, in the lobbying government. It's everywhere. The universities, the studies, the trials.
There's a book that I read a while ago. I'm not remembering the author. The American Health Industry. It's probably 35 years old, and it explains how that industry, the health industry, got control of everything. And there's a chapter particularly on the community mental health. That there was nothing going to be a community; it was going to be a hospital or hospital governed, and I saw the shift through the newspaper and that there was. So I expect your press is somewhat freer than it is here. I don't know.
There's no drug advertising on TV directly, which I guess is where in America that's legal in America.
Nothing else, yes. Golly.
Nothing else. But over here, it's at some level even worse and even more ingrained into this idea of health. We have I know you have a state national health system now where you are, but here we have a state health system that this whole mental hygiene thing was endorsed into at the creation of it. So we have a state health service, which could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing, and this mental health hygiene stuff is an intricate part of it, and the homeland of this whole like barbaric philanthropy, like charity helping people, so-called helping people thing was started here, and that's where the Royal College of Psychiatrists is here. So there's like a lot of authority that is stemmed in these misbeliefs, in these abusive treatments, helping people, whatever it may be. It's just coming from a business point of view, which obviously you don't realize that when you're a child or you're a parent or you're someone that's been advertised by all the doctors. You don't get people, my opinion, on a radio show against the doctors, for example. We don't get in newspapers and TV and radio very much, but if we do, the authority on the voice is the doctor. Compared to the mental patient, you're not listened to, because the part of the dehumanization is to tell us that we are not human. That's what although it's advertised as, you need to understand, it's as like, it's a good thing your mental health, the way they advertise it, but it's actually to dehumanize you, so you are their business then. But we have the mental health charities everywhere, which are paid for by the drug companies, give them the funding, and then the doctors give them the advice, which are funded by the drug companies.
So it's not. Now, how about magazines?
I don't know, the women's magazines generally, I would imagine, and all the agony aunts that are in magazines, they're very big on getting yourself checked for this health, for mental health and stuff like that, as if it, and they're very keen to use the words they use, like they call talking, and they add the word therapy on the end of talking. I mean, talking is something that human beings have always done, but this industry of making human beings business they're no smarter than anyone else. They don't know human behavior any better than anyone else, and they're not geniuses of the brain, because you can never look inside somebody else's brain or tell, or they don't know that, what normal human behaviors is, as if there is a normal human behavior. But nonetheless,
I did want to keep the part about hope in there, and I get I get good times every day. Every day, sometimes not so often, but it's still here we are, and we are able to fight back, and so many people aren't able to do that, and
yeah. We can wake up outside of hospital with the rising sun and the birds, and we're not drugged into oblivion. We've got our voice, we're still standing, and we've got our voices. And children now, reasons why this human rights activism is so important, which I encourage anybody that can get to New York for that time to get there and support human rights. When I was going through the brain damage of withdrawal, what really helped me were things like recover and get through that intense withdrawal period that caused me brain damage, was being out in the sun, meditating, eating vegetables, and exercising. It helped me so much more than being just like, I knew I could not go and get banged up. It helped me so much more, and I was able to live and think and speak and do what we're doing now, and encouraging people to change it, because I hope to think that other people will get to experience that as well, especially children now. Let's say if children now are being given ECT and stuff like that, when they're 30, in 20 years time, when they're meant to be in the peak of their life as an adult, in 2036, they're going to be dealing with the things that you or I are dealing with, and hopefully we can change that. So they can look forward to a better future than that, because it's not right at any age. What was your quality of life then before? Because I mean, you'd built a family and stuff. I mean, what was your quality of life before you were interfered with from mental hygiene?
So my life before, the wife and children, a cat and a dog, I had sold off our farm, and I bought a school bus, fixed that up, and we were traveling to see some of the country in that at the time when I got locked up. And part of it was that we kind of got to South Texas, near the Mexican border, and it was a small town that we found we liked, and then we were there like a few weeks, and the weather started getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and I didn't realize it could get that hot. So I don't know how we can live here. So we kind of got back into the bus, because we had this old house we bought for $500 back then that we thought we could fix up and be warm and happy. We didn't know it was going to be that warm, so we got back in the bus and headed to up to northern Texas, where my wife's sister lived. And while we were there, I may have mentioned when we talked earlier, I took a plane to a friend's house in Columbus. Then my wife and kids came up, and when they got there, I wanted to go back to Texas to get my truck that I'd left there, an old pickup truck that I bought there for $50, I think. And I wanted to hitchhike with my son. My wife and friends called for someone to talk some sense into me, and it was the police who took me for an evaluation. So it was good up till then. I was outside all the time. I was able to walk a tightrope, a tight wire. My balance was fantastic. It took me years to regain my balance. I still haven't been back on a wire like I was, but
the psychotic drugs.
Yeah.
I remember I was very sporty. The psychotic drugs messed up my coordination and stuff. So you were able to walk on a wire before, and after I had to crawl across to
things that I'd run across before, but I crawled across and crawled across till I could run again. So I have a log, and I always have had a log over part of my pond and over the water that haven't done it yet this year. Well, there's ice there now, but I always walk the log, and it's a challenge to visitors. Walk the log to get across the pond, or get across the pond. Like in case the
I know those things. Those are fun,
in case the psychiatrists are chasing me, I want to be able to have that balance there. Yeah. So it was good. I've regained quite a bit. Slowing down this winter, but I expect in spring I can regain more. I use a chainsaw, cut firewood, split wood. I try to do balance things quite a bit. I get on my tiptoes and drop to my knees every day. So I work on it, and then after 5 o'clock I'll have a beer or two, and I have to work on my balance more.
What would you like to say to the well-meaning people that are pushing mental health charities?
Well-meaning people that are good people in bad places. I that's difficult. I know the risks people take if they challenge anything.
What do you mean, challenge the view of mental health charity, or?
Yeah.
What would you, have liked to do with your time that was that you were left quite disabled for a long time after? What would you have liked to have done during that time instead of being singled out and taken and interfered with?
Well, I got lost from my children for those years of early healing also, so it would have been spending the time that like I had been doing with them. I mean, we were traveling in a bus. We were doing stuff, seeing the country, saw both oceans. But before that, we'd done a road trip for a few weeks in an automobile, kind of living out of it. So I mean, seeing some of the world, and like we had been doing, exploring, meeting people. But I did that after, when I was able to again. And if what happened to me hadn't happened to me, I could still be searching and exploring. I don't know,
Yeah. What would you like to say to the people that done this to you?
I don't have to say anything. There was a saying that pops into my head from old timer somewhere about if you sit on the edge of a river long enough, the bodies of your enemy float away past you. And
oh yeah, I've heard of that one. Yeah.
So
there's some innate nature and desire in us to live, and that innate nature and desire, the way we were made, was interfered with and suppressed. So there's an ideology that if we push our nature to live, that will live longer and eventually overcome the forces that are contradicting the will to live.
Sounds good to me.
No, I've heard that quote. I like that one too. I don't know about the one I just made up though. But
sounds good to me.
Would you like to send an encouraging message for people to come down to support the vigil in the summer in New York for the Mental Patients Liberation Alliance, human rights organization? Would you like to send an encouraging message?
I would encourage people to come for just to meet us or to spend time at the vigil. Quite often we have some people will be fasting at the vigil. Maybe join those people in fasting. But to come and celebrate the human spirit and because we as all people need to do that and help those of us who been there break the silence about psychiatric oppression. That's been the reason for this event every year for 36 years now, and it's been the reason that the Alliance remains as active and visible as we can, because it's a matter of survival of humanity as many of us wish to see it. But that could be my delusion or paranoia or whatever. But
no, it really is. There are 63 in my relatively small country. There are 63 million people on mental hygiene drugs to change their brain and behavior and feelings about life, to numb their experiences of life, which is quite a significant number. And in America, it's like, 10 times that? Like 620, I don't know, like a lot of million. And it's killing 500,000 of people a year in 1 year in 2014, according to the study that according to the Danish center, Cochrane Center in Denmark, which is like the serious people that's been published in medical journals. It's not just a stat I'm pulling out my derriere. No, it really is, I think. And then there's other treatments and drugs that will be hailed by the drug companies and trials as something that would be good, or some that could, and the whole idea of the mental hygiene, singling people out process is something that we will be told can evolve into something good, but it never can. That's never a good way to do it. So they'll come up with a new drug with new trials that they're not telling you the harms of, or the fact that you should change your experience on Earth, even if it just made you happy with no harms. That could be a very useful tool for a dictator to keep people happy, as so many people are already on these social control drugs. So I really think that this is a worthwhile, it's no delusion at all when so many people are on drugs. They maybe not tell you they are, but this is really a fight for humanity and survival. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you. So people will be there in Albany at the State Office of Mental Health, building 44 Holland Avenue from noonish July 14th, Friday the 14th, through noonish Monday the 17th. And we hoping again that people can join us. Sometimes we've been able to do the live streaming or whatever, but someone needs to say they're going to do that and do it. So that part has not happened yet.
So that's the details. So we suggest people please come down and support it in whatever way you feel like.